Hey, first of all, I want to say thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I saw you on Facebook, um, and we've interacted before, and we know each other. But what really interested me, and we can talk about this later. I don't want to get into it right now, unless you want to. But I thought it was so amazing and so commendable what you're doing in North Carolina. I thought that effort was, you and Charlie and all those guys that are doing great stuff over there. Is that effort still going on, or are you guys still doing stuff?
Yeah, we're heavily involved. My wife's out there right now. It's really, really bad out there. It's I've never seen devastation like this before in my life. No matter where I've been in the world, it's bad. Um, they're going in the wintertime. It's getting cold, rainy, snowy. The roads are falling apart. One particular road, it's a final little community called Bent Creek. It's near Burnsville, and between Sioux and Burnsville, that place got devastated. They have a place called the Graveyard around the corner from on the river, and it's where all their houses, cars, friends, and family got washed into, and it's still there. You can see body parts sticking out and stuff. Um, it's bad, and the road getting in there is literally falling apart with the cold and thaw. It gets cold at night, moisture, and it thaws out in the day, and the dirt's just falling off. The pavement's mostly gone. It's about a 30-foot or so drop down to the river in some spots where it's just nothing there.
Well, since we're talking about it, what can people do to help out with the effort in North Carolina? Like this is from Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can people do? Like, how can they donate or can they help out? I know Kirk's out there. Like I said, Charlie's out there doing his thing.
The best thing to do right now is they have an overabundance of supplies from people donated. The best thing to do is go through organizations like Samaritan's Purse. We work with Savage Freedoms, which is a really great organization, started up by Adam Smith. Came out there to rescue his wife and daughter, and decided he couldn't leave unless they were safe, and just called up some of his buds down in the soft community, and they just started showing up. And it's a huge operation. They had about 7 or 8 helicopters available to them at the time. They still do. But organizations like that, Savage Freedoms, Samaritan's Purse, avoid FEMA, avoid the Red Cross. They're not doing shit. Actually, they're all pulling out. They're saying, everyone's safe. Everyone's good to go. They were in the bigger towns. Yeah, and the towns themselves are still hurting. But it's not like in the hollers out there. So we've just been getting generators, heaters, medicines, clothing. My wife's a nurse, and she is running around doing welfare checks. For a while there, the National Guard was out there, and we had a run-in with them. Flagged down an ambulance just to get my wife some resupplies, and they started giving us orders like we were in the military. I'm like, I'm long retired, bro. Started telling my wife that where she could be better served, and that we're interfering with their operation because they checked this area, and everyone they met everybody, and nobody has any needs up here medically. And it turns out like they missed probably about 100 people that were in desperate need of medicines, generators, all kinds of things. So we ended up going to Savage Freedom to find this guy's chief warrant officer who was working with them. And my wife and him had a nice long discussion, and that dude got a attitude change.
It's so crazy how like you're all out there trying to do the same thing. You're all trying out there doing good things, and somebody gets an attitude, and they can't put themselves aside enough to focus on what's important. It's just frustrating, I'm sure.
It was so frustrating. The guy was he was a sergeant, and he wasn't even a medic. He was just a combat lifesaver. But he was throwing that around like he was a full-blown medic. And we just laughed, because I was with this Marine named Derek, great guy. But we both looked at him and were like, yeah, good for you. We're all
everybody is,
yeah. Like my wife's a nurse. Like, she's got more qualifications than you, so you need to shut up, listen to her, not her listening to you by your orders and stuff. But because of the incident, we ended up linking up with Savage Freedoms, and said that organization, we walked in there, and it was whatever you want, you get. And my wife's, we work with them a lot, and fuel, getting truckloads of fuel, generators, propane, medicines, clothing. But we have a GoFundMe set up. It's a GoFundMe Save Bent Creek, and that's directly for this Bent Creek area that was hit hard. trying to get them side by sides. They have a lot of elders up in the hollers out there, and because the roads are so bad, they have a trail cut kind of behind the mountain, but can't get cars down it. They don't have any cars to begin with. Right. All got washed away. But their concern is Jeff and Samantha. Samantha's a nurse. They're kind of the leaders of the community now out there, and they're begging for a 4-door enclosed side-by-side so they can get the elders into town, which is about 25 miles, 30 miles away. And the only way to get them right now is through these back trails that they cut to the parts of the road that are still working. That's the biggest, but we're working on that. That's kind of what the GoFundMe's for. Try to raise, buy one of those or used one or get them donated, however we can work it. And that's what we're doing. Like, that's pretty much an update of what's going on. It's bad out there still.
Yeah, people don't realize that, the stuff comes on the news, and I'm just as guilty. You see it on the news, you're like, oh, that was horrible, and they cover it for a couple of days, and then we kind of move on to the next thing. Trump gets elected, and that's the new hotness, and we kind of forget about these guys in these austere areas, So I'm glad you could come on and talk about that kind of stuff and tell people that, hey, they still need help out there.
Yeah, I appreciate putting it out there like this because there's such a need right now. There's over, I don't know how many thousands of houses are wiped out. So there's thousands of families, maybe 10,000 families don't have any homes. They're saying the body count's like 295. They've already gone through, unofficially from what I heard, can't speak for sure, but they've gone through 15,000 body bags supposedly. They got bodies stacked like wood in trailers, refrigerator trailers, and they're still finding parts and things like that. Said I don't know if the number's accurate. That's what I got told by someone that should be in the know, and it's bad. So
if people are listening to this, donate, help out, go out, whatever it is. I mean, we got buddies that are going through the same stuff. I mean, I don't know if you know Abe. He was sending those pictures out. He had a tree fall on both vehicles, and like you said, it's in these areas that they're really hard to get to. So we're looking for helicopter landing zones and people to drop supplies to these people that are you can't access any other way.
No, so we went out there. I marked a few LZs here and there. Got some supplies dropped in. Had a house up on the Fairview side of Black Mountain. We just got told that there was an old couple at the top of it and they needed help. Got there, and the road up to their house was pretty much washed out. Got my Jeep up there, broke my 4-wheel drive, busted my radiator. We got there, and they had a tree laying across their house, and they needed medicine, they needed prescriptions. So we managed to get their scripts written up from and airdropped to them via helicopter. And then my wife did a really good thing. She met somebody at Savage Frida's, I think it was, and just happened to overhear the conversation about this tree. And he says, I got people. And I think within 3 or 4 days, he had got a crew of Mennonites to go up there because they required old school tree removal. The house is up against the mountain, and the tree was laying across it, so you could get equipment up there. So these guys went up there. They managed to get a skid steer up there and pretty much pulleys and ropes and took this tree off their house.
It's amazing.
So, it was
like old school methods that are working better than anything else.
Yeah, and they ended up. I'm not sure if it was the locals near the bottom of the mountain or the Mennonites, maybe a conjunction of all of them. But they fixed the road as they were going up there to get the tree off, basically. So we went there for a visit to check on them again, and it was the road was built. It was all gravel, and there were some spots that were kind of sketchy, but for the most part, these people now have access up and down the mountain. So
it's so amazing. You don't think about that kind of stuff, but you and the guys you're working with all have those skills and those tools to get into those austere locations like we've been doing during the GWOT for 20 years, or even before. I mean, it's not just has nothing to do with GWOT really. It's just military skills and qualifications. It really it's nice to see all that stuff pay off for in a humanitarian effort, and people are leaning forward too. And it's not even and kind of to your point, everybody thinks FEMA's their way to go or the government, but we have private organizations that are doing much more than those guys, and yourself included. And it's just nice to see. It's really cool to see that these guys are just putting, and it's like their own money, and nobody's looking for a paycheck, nobody's looking for any kind of reimbursement. They're just like, what do you need, and they come out and they do it. It's great.
Yeah, it's an amazing civilian effort. The government failed. The government failed miserably. The governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, that guy is being voted out, but he didn't even activate the guard when the storm was coming in. They about, I think it was 7 or 8 days after the hurricane hit, and all this devastation is going on. They had guys waiting on Title 10 orders to activate them, to put them to work. A lot of guys at the 118th ASOS TACPs down there, they just took it upon themselves. They self-deployed with the commander's permission. And a group of about, I think it was 9 guys. They're all the AGR type guys, so they just took leave or whatever they did. I'm not sure how they all worked it out, but they were running around coordinating air rescue, all this stuff. Search and rescues, they're out there walking up and down the rivers, pulling people out, doing whatever they could do. So I ended up linking up with them as well, and they were amazing. The government itself.
There's just too much bureaucracy when you say like they have the tools, they have the talent, they just don't have the meat. They don't have the leadership to kind of direct them where to go. Sometimes, it seems it gets bogged down.
They're telling people, "Oh, we're giving you $750." Well, there's nowhere to send it. These people don't have access to their bank. They don't have. They have. Or they're telling them, just call FEMA or go online to this website and you can do all this stuff. And we give you all this stuff. These people don't even have homes, let alone computers, internet.
Right.
Those are all everything that walks down the river. Most don't have ID, so they can't even go to FEMA because they can't prove who they are. And so it's like, well, we need something in the mail. Well, the mail got washed away along with the road.
Yeah, the mailman can't get up there to deliver anything anyway.
Exactly, and it's things like that. It's frustrating. All these forms they want them to fill out, instead of just walking up there and going, you know what, here, we'll worry about the paperwork later. You're obviously hungry, cold. I mean, a lot of these folks, they had on for days, weeks, what they were on wearing that day, short sleeve T-shirts and stuff, and it was getting down to 30s and 40s at nighttime. So instead of FEMA just doing that, going out there and say, hey, here you go, here's a package, here's a survival package. Nope. They were confiscating things. We had generators delivered to a certain spot, and FEMA, I think it was FEMA or Red Cross, one of them came by and said, "These are ours now." They just took them, and they were designated to go to certain homes. So my wife had to work all over again to get more generators donated just for these homes. Things like that. I'm disappointed in the government for how they responded. So.
Yeah, back to what you were saying about the guard TACPs. I mean, the guard TACPs in this country they lean forward, man. I mean, I know I was talking to Jazz about this a while ago. He had a bunch of guard TACPs out of Tennessee or somewhere that were, doing some work for him because he's a, kind of an emergency response kind of a guy. And it's just amazing how those guys step up. I mean, people don't realize, yes, the guard TACPs are integral and doing combat oriented stuff. They're really good in that regard. But then also they forget that they're also helping out their local communities. I mean, they really do a great job. They should be commended for that. For sure.
The best thing is they know the area. They were going that, outsiders like me who don't live out there wouldn't know where to go. We were getting information from them to go check on people because we're all relaying information back and forth. The 118 guys, Cole Sims. Charlie's flying around. I'm talking to him a little bit. When we talk, text messages mostly. Keith Hunt, same thing. Texting him while he's flying around for doing Civil Air Patrol, looking for survivors and stuff. And we just kind of coordinated the efforts, sending lat longs so they can go find people.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you say Kirk and Steve were out there helping out too?
Yeah, Tomat came out there. Kirk, I think he's out there right now.
Okay.
As a matter of fact. Tomat was there for a few days, then he had to take off for business, and he's going to go back. The good thing is, Savage Freedoms needed program managers, guys who know how to do commo and all that stuff, and they asked us for help. Reached out to Kirk, Keith Hunt, Tony Drusilla, Steve Tomat, and a few others, and these guys stepped up, and they're all going to start rotating through, filling a critical staff need that Savage Freedom just doesn't have. coordinating projects, coordinating workers here and there, just doing basically TACP
Sure.
stuff, But they're all volunteering to go out there on
Yeah.
their own time to do this, and they're gonna cover down, I think, about almost a month's worth of time out there. So.
Well, those are the guys to do it. I mean,
Fun.
those guys are all squared away, all real solid folks. So it's awesome that they were able to do that. That's really cool. All right. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to add before we get back to you and then focus on you a little bit?
No, like I said, just don't forget Western
Yeah.
North Carolina. They're gonna be hurt for another year or so.
I mean, and just to mention that, I mean, you see that footage. There's like whole lakes filled with debris. I mean, it was just crazy that the devastation that happened up there. I mean, it was really people can't fathom it. I can't fathom it. I mean, you've been there, you've seen it, and you probably still can't believe it. I mean, it's just crazy.
Like I said, been all over the world. Been at every third world shithole there ever been, and I have never seen devastation like this. Never. It's just they need help. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay,
they need
good.
help.
Yeah. So let's. So like I said, guys, if you can do anything at all, if you want to go out there and volunteer for a month or a week or whatever it is, I'm sure that they could use your help out there. If you can donate, vehicles or supplies, anything at all. All right. So I wanted to get that out of the way first because I think that's really important, and if anybody listens to this, that's the first thing they're going to hear. But let's go back. Let's hear about you. Let's hear about your upbringing. It's funny. You and I grew up in the same state, not in the same area generally. So I was a little bit farther south, but yeah. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about how your early life, how you got in the military, and we'll just go on from there.
I grew up in Cicero, Illinois, which is on the southwest side of Chicago. It borders Chicago. Small town, population about 60 or 70,000 at the time, and all shoved in about a 3 by 1 mile area. Very crowded, very urban, and not. It used to be a good town. It's turned to shit now, but it's bad. But the funny thing about Cicero is that's where El Capone had his operations, because the cops in Chicago couldn't touch him, because back then they couldn't cross the jurisdiction lines. So he pretty much ran that town, built most of it, seems like, and he did all his operations out of it. That's kind of where I grew up, and that's always like the history of the town. And so with that, you're raised up knowing that stuff, and so when you go other places and people start talking about mob this and mob that, you kind of laugh at it, because it's just like, well, that's how we all grew up. Everyone knew the mobster.
Yeah, right.
So it's not really surprising when I went overseas, and there's people like, oh, this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, yeah, well, that was my neighborhood basically.
Yeah, right.
Went to school. Graduated high school at 17. I didn't want to go to college. My mom pretty much forced me.
Yeah.
So I went to college for a year. I got booted out. Just college life, school life was just not for me.
Yeah.
Came back, and my mom looked at me, opened the door, and looks at me. She goes, "You got 6 months." I'm like, for 6 months, what? She goes, "Pay your rent or get out." So it's kind of harsh, but actually the best thing she ever did for me.
Sure.
But it made me realize that I'm not a kid anymore. I'm a man. I gotta do this on my own now.
Right.
So hung out for a few months. I had a couple of buddies that were in the Air Force already. They came home on leave and started talking, and we just got like, they're like, "Hey man, the Air Force ain't that bad, hell, you get a paycheck, got a place to stay." And I'm like, you know what, sounds pretty good. Took the ASVAB. I qualified for everything but nuclear, some kind of nuclear stuff. I was offered a bunch of jobs. I wanted to fly. Why else join the Air Force if you can't be on an airplane? And that was my mindset back then. So I was offered crew chief, 141, loadmaster, door gunner on a 53, which I had no idea what it was, and I probably should have took that job if it was fun.
Yeah.
But ended up taking an AWACS position and went through school and all. I went to the basic and all that. When I reported to school, I was like going to the wrong base. I'm like, this is not the base I'm supposed to go to. Supposed to go to Shepherd Air Force Base for this school, and I was going to Biloxi, Mississippi to Keesler. And I was like, something's wrong here. So I got there, and they're like, oh yeah, alternate career field is 276, because we're all filled up in the AWACS job. So it was a ground-based radar assignment.
They didn't tell you that they were changing you? They just changed it and didn't say. That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
They just changed it and said, hey man, this is your new job now.
Jeez.
So I ended up going. It wasn't a bad job, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to be airplane and flying around. You know, I didn't want to. I went to the Philippines. That was a good assignment. It was a year's remote assignment. Did a stint in Space Command. That sucked. Good experience, but the job sucked. Ended up in Germany, going to a FACP, forward air control post, at 622nd, and that wasn't bad. I was doing grunt shit. You know, you're out there deployed all the time. You know, running around with this little radar sight. But through that assignment, I met up with Spiller and Master Sergeant Lowe.
Okay.
And we met them at a bar and started talking. And they started talking to us about their job they're doing. And I'm like, that sounds pretty damn exciting. Pretty damn cool. I'm like, you get to jump out of airplanes, shoot guys in the face, and blow shit up. I'm like, hell yeah. So that base closed down. Ended up going to Myrtle Beach and Air Force Base to the 73rd Forward Air Control Post.
Okay.
And that we closed down there too. So I had a choice. I had to, you know, take another assignment somewhere or retrain. So I retrained into 275, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like it was a good decision.
Sure.
Yeah, I lost out on the reenlistment bonus. You know, they were offering me all kinds of money to stay in the other career field, and I was like, nope, don't want to stay.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I went to schoolhouse. I think I was Hawk 33 or 34. Had a good time. Like it felt like home then. You know, it was like one of those things like, oh, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
You know, the misfits. So
Right.
I met a bunch of other misfits. I'm like, I fit in somewhere finally.
Right. Exactly.
So that was it. And then I ended up at Fort Stewart for 4 long years.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad assignment. Stewart, either you love it or you hate it, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not what I wanted to do. Being in the back of a track and all that stuff some guys love it. I didn't. I was looking for a little bit more excitement. So I ended up doing a deployment to Kuwait, I believe it was. And when I got back, there was orders to report to Bragg for soft selection. My commander, my commander, in my absence, put me in for the soft selection. I didn't even fill forms out. He filled them all out, mailed them in.
I read that. Had you mentioned it to him at all? Like, had you expressed interest in it? And he was just like, no, this guy needs to get over there and try out. So I'm doing it. That's
Colonel
awesome.
Williams was a great commander. He flew A-10s for a living.
Nice.
Great guy. But yeah, he just decided that this is where I want to be. And I'm like, sounds good to me. But I got back on a Thursday or a Friday. All my stuff is still on a plane somewhere or being flown back or whatever. I had no kit. I have no gear. All I had was my LBE. That was it. And I rolled up there. I had to be there on Sunday. So just like a Thursday or Friday, I get back. I got orders. I go home for a day or so, and then have to roll up to Bragg for selection. And I showed up with nothing. I had my LBE, I think. That was it, and a uniform.
What'd they say? They give you a hard time?
Oh man, they looked at me like I was the biggest shit show ever. You know? I mean, and the funny part is, I didn't even have any black socks to wear. Like there was. So I rolled there with white socks on, and I sit down for the interview, and Tommy King looks at me. And he goes, "Nice white socks," and I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
So I had nothing. I went to the field with a poncho and a blanket from the building. Like I took off the bed when I left to go out to the field. That's all I had, and I felt like such an idiot and a doofus. I was like, God damn. That's hell. It was me, Bo Cook, Sean Mignon, and Rock Davis.
Okay.
And I think who else was there? Scotty was there, and like they all looked at me like I was like, "What the f are you doing here?" type thing. But I made it. They picked me up surprisingly.
I was gonna say you must have crushed it, man. I mean, obviously, you know, having minimal kit and still getting through it.
Either that or they were desperate.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Could have been either way.
I think I actually did, qualify, but who knows?
Yeah.
I just like, it's one of those times where like I was always squared away and gung ho and all that stuff, and here I show up looking like a like a fresh boot, you know.
Right.
So, but they picked me up. Ended up going to jump school. What was it? I think I had to wait like 6 months to go to jump school.
Okay.
And from there, I went to Bragg.
Nice.
Took 22nd ASOP, which is nice. It was a good assignment. I love that assignment.
Oh, I've heard that. I was never there, but I interacted with those guys a lot, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. I mean, it just seemed like a solid crew and cool missions, and just a fun place to serve.
It was probably the best assignment I've ever had in my life. Like just because everyone was mission oriented. Like we you know, you play hard, you work hard type thing.
Sure.
So it was just everyone had the same mentality, the same mindset, the same go get them attitude. You know, nobody with a slacker.
Right.
You know, you're expected to do your job. So that was that. It was just I left there because I ended up going with fifth group. Me, Mark Lutz, deployed with fifth group back to Kuwait, and I met up with Mike McKee from the Guard. The Guard guys were doing a rotation out there at the ASOS, and I came off a mission. We were out there for days, and I was exhausted. And got back, wanted to take a shower. There was no water going on at Camp Doha, so I could take a shower. So I went over to the ASOS and just sat in their day room, and I think I racked out for about 18 hours. And I woke up and there's all these guys standing around me looking at me. I'm still sitting there with my weapon stacked across my chest, all my gear on, stinking like a hive. It was bad. I stunk bad.
Yeah.
I covered in dirt and sweat. And because we had been living in a spider hole for like 5 days out in the desert, just under the ground, just taking turns scoping out something, right? So, I don't know. That's how I met Mike McKee. And he ended up, about a year or so later, calling me up and wanting to know if I wanted to take a position with the Guard as an AGR to set up the soft TACP program for the Guard. At the time, my wife at the time, she wanted to go back to Illinois, and it was like, well, I don't want to leave the 22nd ASOP, but it's either that or lose my family. So
yeah,
picked up and went.
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal. It's a big decision, right? You want to do the fun stuff and you want to keep being a hard charger, but then also there's the family that is waiting for you to get over it and kind of do something a little more normal. So you're there, to have some normalcy in the family. So yeah, it's a tough decision. It really is.
Yeah, it was. I always tell the story because I got home from somewhere, and I've been gone for a few months, I think, and it was Thanksgiving, and my wife at the time literally sat down, 2 kids, one in a high chair, one of the one's 5 years old, and we're all eating turkey dinner, and she just lifted her head up and says, I love you, but I'm leaving. I'm going back to Illinois. So I can't do this no more. That's how it started. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm like, been home for a day and you're telling me you're leaving me? Not because we got problems, because you just don't want to live here no more. And she said, if I'm going to be a single mom, I'm going to be a single mom.
Yeah.
So that was a driving force. I had two small kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's tough. I mean, we talked about it many times on this podcast about how, the women that you kind of leave behind to take care of everything while we're gone doing other stuff. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's a tough life.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, good for you. I mean, a lot of guys wouldn't make that decision. I mean, that's commendable for you to, step up and do the right thing and, go back with her.
Yeah, it was, there was some contention.
I was gonna. So what? Yeah, it's a hard thing to do. I know. It's like, it wasn't the yes, ma'am, and just go on. It's yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, you want me to leave the best assignment I ever been to with the best people I ever worked with to go what? So it was a tough decision.
Yeah.
Got to Peoria in I think January, of 2000. Ran, I think, 2 selections. Ended up with I think they had 5 guys qualified. Grappo was the first one. A couple other guys came on, and then and this was a Guard wide, so it wasn't just guys from our unit. It was from at that time there was 8 ASOSs.
Yeah.
So it was just a Guard thing. They came in through selection. I had a bunch of guys from 22nd come out and help evaluate.
Oh, cool.
Because I didn't want it to be only me,
sure,
because I'm the only qualified guy, and so I had them come out. They evaluated the selection to certify it, and then helped me pick out guys who would qualify for the SOF. So it was nice to have that happen. And the 9/11 happened about a year later. So there we were. And we got tasking down for, I think, 42 JTACs to support ODAs, because they wanted 2 JTACs per ODA. And we had a mass selection. So basically it was mandatory that every guard TACP had to show up for this selection. And it was up in Wisconsin. And it was bitterly cold. But we were doing helo inserts, all kinds of things, just basic skills, shooting. We had the cops from the base where we were at in Peoria. They had a couple guys that were super highly qualified with weapons, and they came up there and they went through advanced tactics with everybody.
Oh, nice.
It was just one of those things.
Sure.
So it worked out, but there was about 70 or 80 guys that showed up, and the 42 best guys got picked, and that was it.
Nice.
The rest went to the conventional side, because they were going there to support the conventional side. So, like 30 guys went to conventional, about 42 or so went to SOF.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had that guard presence in the GWOT was immense. I mean, it was invaluable. I mean, I don't think people could have done what they needed to do without that guard presence. I mean, you guys really filled that requirement. It was awesome.
Yeah, it filled the hole that was about to happen because of Iraq.
Yeah.
Like nobody really knew it was going to happen that fast, but we were there for like 2.5 months, and they pulled about half our guys out, sent them to Iraq, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like the game on. So
right.
So after that was just, Fraser got hit about 3 months into the deployment. That devastated me.
Yeah.
It was you ever have someone you meet in the military that reminds you of you?
Sure.
When you were younger, that's what it was. Like me and Fraser were pretty tight, and I felt guilt for years because I chose to go on the soft side, and it messed me up for a long time, for years. My current wife helped me get over it. So it was we used to call it Fraser Day. She was a bartender for a long time, and she would always have, the anniversary of his death. She always treated me special on those days, right?
Yeah.
And then we get together, and she said, "This year you're not doing this. This year we're going to have fun. We're going to celebrate his life. So to mourn his death, we're going to celebrate his life." And she took me out. We went bar hopping, but it was good bar hopping. It wasn't like this mass drinking. It was like, go have dinner and do this, do this, and do that, And we laughed and joked all day about Fraser, and it was a change in my my headspace.
Yeah.
It flipped things around for me, and I started becoming normal again.
Yeah.
So, but that was hard. Fraser's death was really hard. Not only for me, for everybody.
Sure.
But so it just hit me really hard personally, because he reminded me of me when I was his age. So,
Yeah.
That was it. I ended up retiring out of there. I went to JFO course out of SIL. It was me, Chris Griff, a guy named Vince from the Army. Del Vecchio was out there, and Wes Bryant was out there. And we just started working it and made that course. And all of a sudden, it went from a handful of guys to, I left for about a year, and I came back, and we went from like 5 guys to about 25 guys.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was like a big TACP reunion.
Yeah.
Like we were all out. Well, it was kind of cool actually working out there.
Sure.
I did enjoy it, but the job was okay, but it was just like every day was like going to a party, because it was all the TAC dudes. That's about the good thing about it.
Yeah.
I ended up leaving there, got this job offer, and I couldn't turn it down. No name company. They offered me a job, and it was quite a large pay raise, and I'm like, I don't care if it lasts a year. That's twice as much I make over here, I was like, hell yeah, I'm going. It may last a year, it may last 3 years. I don't know. It's been 15 years.
Nice.
Program, yeah, the program's shutting down end of this year. So, looking for a job. So, but yeah, it lasted 15 years,
Nice.
which is, I've never been in one spot that long in my entire life, I think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just trade Marine JTACs. It's the Supporting Arms Virtual Trade, SAVT. Trade Marine JTACs, JFOs, FOs, FIST, all that stuff. It's just a big, giant simulator.
Okay.
Partial dome. It's like 270 degrees of a dome.
Do you guys do any kind of virtual stuff with other like non-co-located sims, or do you like tiny aircraft in, or is it something like that, or no?
It has the capability of doing that. We don't tie into anybody. When I first got here, we were in a building in the middle of nowhere, across from the bombing range, and they said it was going to cost like $8 or $10,000 for an EPA study to run some cables just across the parking lot to another building that had another sim in it.
Jeez.
And the Marines were like, no, we're done with that. We're not doing that.
Yes.
And then they ended up building this brand new facility about 4 years ago. And the idea was to put all the sims in this building so we could all be interconnected.
Right.
But they never thought through the whole process because each sim has its own proprietary programming. They don't talk to each other. So,
dude, it's been that way forever, man. I mean, I remember when I was in AFSOC, I was the sim guy, and everybody was trying to buy different sims, and they didn't talk, and it's like, why are we not buying the same thing for everyone? You know, why the same system? I know there's a whole lot of contracting intricacies that are that go along with it, but it's just, I don't know.
They're working towards that now. It's a more concerted effort between the services because they're realizing that it's really cool to have a $20 million system, but if you can't use it outside that room, what good is it?
You're right.
So they're doing it in some places. I know out at Yuma, where the SAT was out there, it was in the same building as the pilot simulators.
Oh, cool.
And so they tied in directly to them. So they would actually have the guys flying the missions next door, and JTACs were in the sim controlling them.
Smart.
So that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, especially with in this day and age where there's very limited live fly casts. I mean, it's very hard to come by. So having that virtual option is a little better. Obviously you could get in there and play aircraft, but it's not always the best thing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I role play pilots every day. Already every day. I'll put about 6 different hats on there in a simulation.
Right.
But is it the best thing? No. I would love to have a real pilot flying a real mission in this sim coming in because it's more reactive that way.
Sure.
Right now, it's like everything that happens, I have to do. So I'm constantly doing inputs, and if I'm backed up, I got 3 fire support missions and aircraft checking in and all this stuff. It's first come first serve as far as what gets input into the system. So.
Yeah, that's got to be busy. Yeah. Plus, you're probably trying. Are you transmitting also? Or are you like doing voice, like transmissions? So you're trying to. And for those who don't know, it's not like you just push a button and an artillery mission goes. I mean, it's pretty involved. Input all that data and coordinates I mean, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do.
I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens all arrayed out in front of me. Jeez. And I'm monitoring each one, talking to 2 different people at the same time. It gets confusing sometimes. It is what it is.
Sure.
It pays the bills.
Right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it has some value. I mean, it does. Getting those guys in there and because frankly, you get in a sim, you can do whatever you want. You can throw anything you want at these guys, and they have to, control stacks and control airspace and all that stuff. So it has some value for sure.
Yeah, but what it does a lot is, we can get one guy through 8 missions, 10 missions a day, and it instead of being on the range like we used to back in the day, go spend a half hour controlling aircraft, learning how to say a 9-line, that kind of thing.
Right,
guys come in here. And so when they get to the actual range for their first time actually controlling live air, they've already had 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 missions in the sim. And so they're used to the burgers. They're used to how the flow goes. They're not afraid to talk to an airplane type thing.
Nice.
they all the coordinating, all the skills, all the map work they know how to do quickly. So
Yeah.
it does help in those aspects. I mean, I think it's a good tool for that. I don't think it's the answer to everything.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Live,
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing beats a live control, obviously, but in lieu of that, having a simulator is not too bad, especially if it's a guy like you who's been around, knows how that speak is supposed to sound. That's also important.
Yeah, it's like when we first got these jobs, there's 6 sites. There's one at Camp Lejeune where I'm at, Camp Pendleton, 29 Palms, Yuma, Hawaii, and Okinawa. When they first hired everybody, they had 2 Marine or former Marine pilots that flew Cobras, and the rest were all Air Force, because the Marine Corps wrote down the requirements that basically you had to be a JTAC for 5 years with at least 1 combat towards a JTAC. While the Marine Corps had qualified guys as far as skills, the JTAC program for the Marine Corps started up in 2005. This was in 2006, I think it was, or 7.
Oh, okay.
Started in 2005. Nobody met the qualifications for 5 years of JTAC with the JTAC tour. They had to hire us Air Force guys come in and train the Marines.
It worked out for you, though, right?
It worked out great for me, but the Marines are not happy.
Imagine.
So eventually, they got a lot of guys qualified, and I'm the only Air Force guy left in the program.
Oh, okay.
Everyone else is all. So it's just, I was like, who wrote this job qualifications? Like, you have nobody qualified according to your own rules.
Right.
So it's a good deal. I mean, it's sad to see it go. They're replacing it with some virtual headset things supposedly that nobody likes.
Yeah.
You can't do can't do fish drills. It's 1 or 2 guys at a time. I haven't seen them yet. I haven't used them, but supposedly that's what's coming online. I'll reserve judgment until I have it in my hand.
Sure.
But everyone's telling me they don't like them because they get headaches. They can only wear it for like 20 minutes, I think it is, 30 minutes, and then have to take a 2-hour break.
Oh, really?
It's just now it's negative training.
Yeah.
You work for 20, 30 minutes. A mission lasts longer than that.
Yeah, right.
And then you can't wear them for another 2 hours. So
does that headset? Is it like it's a simulator inside the headset, or do you use it in conjunction with the simulator?
Some are standalone. I believe there's different versions out there. One is you kind of like you're wearing a headset, but you're inside of a dome as well. I think.
Okay.
I haven't seen them. I've seen pictures of them. I haven't seen them in operation.
Okay.
There's virtual reality, and then there's augmented reality. The augmented reality one is the program goes through the headset, through the eyepiece, but it's also seeing out the real world.
Okay.
So you can look out your window of your house, and you'll see a tank parked out there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it takes the background of the real world and overlays a tank on it or whatever you program into it.
Okay.
But I haven't seen them operational. I seen a video of them once. A couple of guys tried them out, and their reviews weren't that good, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
are they relatively new, or have they been around a while? I mean, like.
In some form or fashion, they've been around for a while.
Okay.
Just the technology is catching up to it now.
Okay.
It's like back in the day we had all that supposedly high-speed BCT, DCT stuff. That stuff was boat anchors. But again, it was supposed to be all this high-speed stuff that didn't work. It wasn't high speed, and it just, it did what it was, but it slowed you down. I could do 10 9 lines by the time I got one input in that damn device.
Right.
So, map and compass. I preach that to this day.
Right.
Map and compass. You can have all the high-speed kit you want. It does you no good when the batteries die in it. And if it slows you down, then what's the use of
Sure.
it,
And now you got this thing that you're not using. It's in your ruck, and it's just weighing you down. And yeah.
Again, 100 pounds of high-speed lightweight gear is still 100 pounds.
Right. Exactly.
The one thing I could have used one time, which the mini ponder, micro ponder.
Yeah.
I never used that thing in my career at all. And the mission I got out in Afghanistan to a place called Hell Valley. Of course, B1s check in. We were being probed and shot at, and have B1s check in, and they're like, "You got a transponder?" And I'm like, "Well, Yeah, I'm doing myself, yeah, I got one about 50 miles away because I stopped carrying because I never used the damn thing.
Right.
And that one mission did it. Yep, it was back in the at the hooch. So
Dang it.
I was like, dang it, man, been carrying this thing around for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, small, lightweight, but still like was taking up space in my ruck. So I just tossed it out, you know.
Right.
And I don't know. It's like we all get a bunch of gear. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. And when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I mean, batteries die. I had a brand new pair of nods, like turned them on, and they went on. They turned off. Changed batteries real quick. Came on, came off, and we were taking fire. And so I just grabbed one of the ODA guys, and I gave him the IR pointer. It's pitch black. I'm showing him how to use the damn thing, and I'm like put it on the bad guy. Just point this at the bad guys because I couldn't see anything. My night vision goggles weren't working.
Sure.
I just like point at the bad guys and let me know when you got it on there. So.
Well, tell me about that. Like, tell me that story. Like, what were you guys doing? And was this the one you were talking about where you had to plug up the hole and the guy's gunshot wound, or?
That was a different story altogether.
Well, I'd love to hear them both. If you're willing, I'd love to hear both those stories.
Well, the first one, we had just gotten in country about 3 or 4 days prior. Flew into Bagram, or flew into Bagram, and then from there we pushed out to our assignments. I got sent to Kandahar, and my team had just rolled back in, and so we were doing a swap of the JTACs, and I walked in, and they're like, you the JTAC? I'm like, yep, like, good, come here. We're leaving tomorrow for a mission. So
of course, that's always the way it is.
I'm like, great, where are we going? You know. So we had a map. The problem with the map was it was a Russian map, written in Russia. You know, Russian.
Yep.
And
standard.
It was off, and it was like off by 700 meters. So for everything you did, you had to account for that 700 meters. But the helo in, supposed to do this, high speed. You got to come in, go off the back end of the helicopter, right at the mountaintop, blah, 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 do all this stuff. The whole mission was that we're supposed to be eyeballing to confirm that there was 2 Al-Qaeda training camps. One was supposed to have like 700 guys in it. The other one was supposed to have 500 guys in it. So we did a split team up, 5 and 7. I was on the Alpha team, and we had 7 guys. We got some kind of signal guy from the Army. He was intercepting phone calls and stuff. But we go in, and it's supposed to be all sneaky peeky and all that shit. And the bird comes in, junior pilot. He puts the bird down ass end on top of the mountain, so the ramp didn't open all the way. And I was supposed to be first guy off. We hit hard. I fell down, dropped some shit. I was picking it back up. But it's 47. It's noisy as hell in there. And so the guy on the other side, who's be number 2 out the ramp, looks at me. He thought I got shot. The guy just clapped. I just fell. And so he just goes. Well, I stand back up, grab my ruck, and we weren't wearing them. We're just dragging them. I stand up. I see him drop at the back of the helicopter, and he just slides out. I'm like, well, he just got shot. My turn. We get out there, and he dropped to get out because it was only open a little bit. The ramp wasn't open, but about I think 3 feet, maybe 2 feet.
Jeez.
You had to squeeze yourself through. That's how I had to kick my ruck out of the helicopter, literally kicking it, and then slide out. And I grabbed my ruck as I was going out on my ass and just kind of laying down, sliding out, and didn't expect the terrain to be like it was.
Yeah.
It was damn near straight down. So my 100-pound ruck goes rolling down the mountain with my arm in it.
Oh.
It's just dragging me and spinning and wrapping around my arm. And I had broken my shoulder years ago at a parachute jump, right? And I heard that thing snap again. I'm like, fuck. So I don't know how far I fell. I tumbled for a solid 30 seconds probably. Came to a big boulder that stopped me, and I went to put my ruck on. The strap was broke, so I only had one strap on my right side.
Man.
Flying back up this mountain, and they all thought I was dead. They're like, oh, you're here. I'm like, yeah.
You made it.
So I walked around with 115 pounds on my one shoulder because this one was broken, but the strap was broken anyways. It didn't even matter.
Yeah.
So I picked this thing up, like, oh.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was an interesting mission. We got probed. I don't think we were there for more than 30, 40 minutes. And I had just like they told me, hey man, rack out for about an hour, right? I'm like, all right. So I go to rack out, and I'm like laying down for maybe 5 minutes, and dude crawls over and he's like, hey, Air Force, time to do that JTAC shit. And so we popped up, figured out what's going on, got the B1s on station, and they were going to drop a couple 2,000-pounder JDAMs, and the sun was starting to come up about like 5:30. The sun was just starting to come up, and one of the guys, he calls back. He's like, man, hold on the airstrike. So I told the guys to abort because they were doing their final run-in.
Yeah.
Told them to abort, head back to the IP because they're about 40 miles out, I think they were.
Right.
And like, what's going on? And it turns out these weren't Al-Qaeda training camps. It was a village filled with women and children. And I'm like, that could have been bad. I could have wasted the entire village.
Oh, man.
But the other team got compromised as well. And so we called to be lifted out. And they said, yeah, come get you later on, at nighttime. So as we're laying there, just kind of lounging around all day, sun goes down, and we're waiting on the birds about 15, 20 minutes out. I had an AC-130 check in with me because they were escorting the helos.
Nice.
And they checked in. I'm like, yeah, everything's hunky-dory, we're good. And so we'll be there in about 20 minutes or so. And all of a sudden we see lights in the mountains, and we hear voices, we hear everything. So they started getting lit up a little bit. And that's why the AC-130, I was trying to point out, where these guys were.
Yeah.
And so helos come in. We all, the same damn pilot, puts that ramp down on top of the mountain, opens up about 2 feet. So as you're running to the helo, you get the engines right here, and it's burning your face.
Yeah.
And you had to crawl to the helicopter. But prior to that is when I had the guy when my nods broke, and I had the dude IR point the guys out, and I just told him, like, hey, we're getting on the bird, you're cleared hot. So like,
right,
you're an AC-130, do what you do.
Right.
So as we were taking off, AC-130 was engaging, and they escorted us back in, and by chance I had contacted 2 A-10s, so we were being escorted back, and we're flying through some valley, and the ramps open, and you can see out the door and all that. And all of a sudden, you see all these tracers come flying at us, and I'm like, "This is gonna suck."
Oh,
so
man.
I called up the AC-130 and the A-10s. Like, the AC-130 didn't see them. The A-10 saw them, and he's like, "We'll mark it for the AC-130." So they rolled in and peeled off the side of the mountain with a 30 mic. And AC-130's like, yeah, see it. There's nothing left, but we see it. But that's kind of cool. The door gunner was just blazing away with the minigun. We landed and went on to our next mission. We moved out from there. I think about 3 days later, we rolled out from Kandahar to Daewoo. That's our fire base.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. That's where the incident with the guy. We did a patrol. And we had just done like a presence patrol, and we rolled through I don't know how many villages, and just presence patrol, looking for intel, talking to local, the village elders and all that. Came back later on that day as the sun was going down, rolled through the last village, the first village we had gone through, back through that one, and everyone's waving, hey, how you doing? Oh, Medicaid. And we got about 100 meters or so outside the town, and they lit us up. So return fire. Everyone just let the village up, and we got back to the FOB, and it's like they're 10, 15 clicks down the road. So we got back, and as we're getting ready to pull into the gate, this truck comes rolling up, and they're like, hock to this, and blah, 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 blah. So our Terp and the team daddy and the team captain started talking to the driver, because there was a guy in the back of it just laying there, bleeding out. So Doc jumps in there. He's like, six pack, come on. So I get in the back of the vehicle. This guy's got holes all over his body. And he's like, put your finger right here. So I put my finger in this guy's gut, buried it up to about there. All right. And he's like, just hold it, because there's blood pouring out of it. It turns out it was his liver. But there's just blood pouring out of it. And I'm just like trying to hold this thing in there. In the meantime, they're talking to the driver, and they kept saying, oh, it was Taliban that shot us. And at that time, I think Doc pulled out a round. It was definitely 5.56, right? So it was our.
Jeez.
We definitely these are the guys that were shooting at us.
Yeah.
So they figured that out, and they wrapped that driver up real quick, hog-tied his ass with zip ties. Team Daddy looked at Doc and says, "They're Taliban." Doc goes, "Pull your finger out," like, and the guy died right there. But I was like, go to Allah, because one of those bullets whizzed past my head. I was kind of pissed. I was like, man,
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's characteristic for those guys, right? They engage you, and then they try to turn it around and have you save them, or try to lie and say they weren't part of it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had a village next to us, and for whatever reason, one night we just got back from a mission, and we're doing a debrief, and we had 82nd Airborne guys doing the guard towers and all that.
Yeah. And
they just start lighting the sky up with 240s, right? And so we all went out there, and I'm 6'1", and those little doorways are about 5.5 feet, some of them.
Right.
So I'm running out to get my kit, because we were in one part of the building. I had to run to the other building to get my stuff. So I'm running there to get my radios and shit, and I get laid out by that door for, I forgot how short it was. I ran full-fledged. It hit me here, set me back. I got knocked out for about solid 15, 20 seconds. I was just knocked out. And I come to, and there's Doc is all over me. He's like, six pack's been hit. And I'm like, I'm good. I didn't get shot. Trust me. It's just my dumb ass. My dumb ass right to a door. So I was woozy as could get. I went, finished grabbing my stuff, ran up to the wall, and all these 80 seconds of guys are laying fire down into this village. And I'm on this wall, and I'm just walking. I'm stepping over these guys, like, what are y'all shooting at?
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, what are you guys? They're shooting at us. Like, nobody's shooting at us. Stop. And but the one kid, he was a young kid. You could tell he was like, scared. And he's like, hey, Air Force man, you got aircraft coming in? I'm like, yeah, I'm working on it. I have to key the mic, and a P3 was flying overhead. So I was like, hey man, can you do some ISR for us? And this kid's like, wow, that was fast. You Air Force guys you rock.
Just let them believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I never told the truth. I was like, I didn't happen to see an aircraft up there when I went over on guard.
Right.
Well, yeah. The next day, the village elder comes walking up to the gate, and he has a bag full of rounds. He says, please have your soldiers stop shooting the door at my house.
He asked nicely, right?
Yeah, he asked we asked who's shooting at us, and he says that was Taliban, but they're not from our village. They stuck into the village basically and lit off a magazine or two each, and they ran off. And the elders, people in the town saw them run off, but they couldn't tell us because we were shooting at them.
Right.
But yeah, that was kind of funny actually. But yeah, it was just all because I seen an aircraft flying overhead.
Yeah.
These Army guys thought I was God.
Oh yeah,
for a while.
You're a hero, dude.
Oh yeah. I didn't tell him. I was like, man, that's just pure luck, bro. Just pure freaking luck. I had to look up and see an aircraft. I'm like, God dang. But that was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up going? Where the hell? I went back to we left that fire base, went back to Kandahar, I believe, or
Okay.
Bagram, one of the two, Bagram.
Yeah.
And I got roped into being to helping John Harris do Siege Assodative staff for about, I don't know, a month or so. But yeah, it's like being back in the river was just weird.
Yeah.
You know, fresh food, showers. Of like, me and Travis Weitzel were walking out the gate to go to the chow hall across the street, and like the little guard guy, ECP guy, he's like, "Hey, you have your weapons?" We're like, "No, like we're in shorts and a t-shirt and flip flops, man. Like, I'm not carrying a weapon." And so he's like, "Okay." And we went in that chow. We come walking back, and there's this captain standing there. He wants to have us arrested for disobeying an order from a guard, right? We're like, "What?" He asked us if we had weapons. We said no. He didn't say anything else.
Yeah.
So this guy, "You're gonna follow me?" Blah, 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 blah. And then going into the talk. And this guy, I mean, it went from nothing to extreme. So there's Chief Harris talking to this captain, like, "What the, you know?"
Yeah.
And yeah, got the two colonels involved, all this stuff. And Travis looks and goes, "Are you telling me I need a lawyer? Because if I do, I'm getting a lawyer.
Yeah.
I want a lawyer right now." And it got pushed back down when they found out what really happened. That we weren't ordered not to leave. This guy was like, they left the base, they left the compound. They were told to stop. They didn't halt. All this stuff. I'm like, no, this guy literally said, "You got your weapons?" I'm like, "Nope." Like, okay. So
Isn't it funny how, like, you know, you were just telling those stories about you being out in bad guy country, in these, you know, little combat outposts or these fobs or whatever, and then you get back to like the main base and they forget that the real fight is out there. You know, they get in that I don't know, that main base mentality where, you know, it's just so crazy how they forget what we're doing. You know, they forget what your effort is. I don't know. It's so frustrating. Like PT belts and, you know, saluting and all that other crap. You know, it's just like, what are you doing, dude?
Cuts and shine boot type stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we got told that we had to shave, and I'm like, "Why?"
Right.
Because you're in garrison now. You know, all that cowboy stuff. I'm like, "Dude, it took me like 5 months to grow this beard. I ain't shaving it." You know?
Right.
Well, yeah, we were supposed to shave. We didn't shave. Like, like, whatever, man. But we ended up staying mostly on the siege sort of compound, because when you left the compound, you're like in sergeant major territory.
Yeah.
It was like, the whole shine boots, crisp uniform type thing.
Yeah.
So
we had a similar experience. We didn't leave our compound either, hardly, unless we were doing, you know, vehicle training or something. But yeah, it just wasn't worth it. You know, you had everything you needed. It didn't, you know, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it was like, and the only thing we went to chow hall that day that went outside the compound, because ours was shut down because they were doing something, like they were cleaning or whatever. So like, it was like everyone had to go eat chow that day across the street.
Right.
I'm like, man, I almost went to jail to get some food. So,
yeah, it's crazy.
That was that, man. It was a decent rotation, I guess. It wasn't boring. It wasn't really like, I'm knee deep in the shit. No, it was just like typical Army stuff.
Sure.
Drive around a vehicle, pick a fight, do something about it, and then go back to the base.
Yeah.
So,
but see, for kind of like we were talking about, like, I mean, that was your day to day. You know, you go out, you stir up some trouble, and then deal with the trouble, and then you go back. And I mean, it was like, that was just normal ops for you guys. I mean, it really was.
Yeah, there was never no big, like, there was you get some intel, you act on it.
Sure.
And that was about it. You always follow the 5 W's afterwards.
Yeah.
Ask for permission after you're already back. So.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, before you leave the compound, you're getting denied.
Yeah.
But you come back, "Hey man, we got some intel, blah 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 blah," and then you wait a few hours, and then you report your findings, which was, "Hey, we got this guy arrested, or he's tied up." So yeah, the 5 W's were always done after we got back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
just stuff like that. I had had some A10. God, it was beautiful. I think I paint the picture. We had just hit a compound. probably about 15 miles from our fire base. But we rolled in. I had B1s on station, and I had them break the deck, and they timed it just right. Like we set a countdown timer, and as we were blowing the door, they come flying over full burner about 500 feet off the ground and did a sonic boom over the compound.
Oh.
So we blew this door. All the villagers looking up, and nobody heard the explosion because the sonic boom of these B1s.
Oh, right.
So on the way back, a couple hours go by, blah, blah, blah. On the way back, these guys on a motorcycle kept following us. They were behind us by about a quarter mile, but kept following us. And I had A10s on station that's got an overhead watch. And I pointed them out to them, and I go, man, if they follow us past this ridge line, can you just do a show of force type thing? And that dude came behind that A10, and as these guys crushed that ridge, he flew in and basically clipped them with the wing and knocked them flying. I don't know what happened to the guys. They flew other side of the ridge line.
Yeah.
They were flying through the sky. Like,
really?
It was badass.
Man, it's crazy.
I'm like, we're not being fouled no more.
Right.
So, but just things like that was fun.
Yeah.
That same mission, actually, I had F-16s check in, Dutch F-16s check in after the B-1s left. And there was a crowd gathering around where zip tying guys up. But there's two guys up there. There's like a 200-foot cliff above us, or we're kind of at the bottom of it. I kept looking up, and you see little heads pop over, right? So I had these Dutch guys come in and just eyeball them. See, they got weapons. Who are they, right?
Yeah.
And he flies in, and he goes, I think they have weapons. I said, well, cool. Just, basically fly over them again and push them away,
Yeah.
So he did. As he flew over them, these guys stood up, and he pops flares. And I swear to God, one of those flares come out of that aircraft and hit this guy square in the chest. He just
no way.
Fireball. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, whoa! Because I don't think anyone expected that. I didn't ask for flares. He's just like, okay, no problem no more. So,
jeez.
It was crazy. But that was a crazy day. Like that, all that shit happened in that one mission.
Oh man.
So it was a good day, but
yeah.
I was laughing most of the day.
Sure.
It's just one of those pictures I sent you. It's the one with all the me and a couple of guys surrounded by a bunch of they were Taliban.
Okay.
We're the group photo of all of us because we went up to the local war chief, his compound, to ask some questions. And, we roll in, and it's tight. There's like 3 vehicles in there already. We're trying to put 2 more vehicles in there. And they closed the gate behind us, and I'm like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And so I put a request in real quick, and I had aircraft on station. They're hanging out like 20 miles away or whatever. And I just told, getting the 9 line and everything. And we went to go sit down and have what they call food. Yeah, dude, it was thrown on a mat that this guy was walking on with 30 feet.
Yeah.
And it was like a piece of chicken with some sauce on it. And they just threw it basically on the floor. And it was like, great.
Yeah.
So, but we had to eat it. I was like, oh. But before I got the vehicle, though, I told the 82nd guy, he was a man in the 50. I was like, listen, man, if shit goes down here and the gunfight starts, I go, before you start shooting, just key that mic and say cleared hot. I said, because we're trapped in this compound now. We're not getting out.
Right.
So he's like, okay, well, right after I tell him that, the gate opens, and in comes this two Hiluxes packed with Hajis. And they were surprised to see us as we were surprised to see them. So and we look at the little war chief guy, and we're like, hey, man, who are they and what's going on? And he's like, oh, no, that's local militia. Right?
Right.
Well, and so everyone realized what was going on, and it was one of those, well, if one person starts shooting, none of us are leaving here.
Right.
Right? So we all took a photo. So I'm gonna be like me and a couple of ODA guys in a group photo with a bunch of Taliban. So
Jeez.
and the meeting ends. Our team captain goes. He tells the war chief guy. He goes, "Hey, tell your militia that they should be driving around with weapons in the back of the truck."
Yeah.
Why? They're militia. And he goes, because new orders came down. If aircraft see trucks with people with guns in them, they're automatically allowed to kill them. And he's like, oh, it was a lie, but
Sure.
we left. We left. Those guys rolled out. The aircraft, the aircraft spotted them. I'm like, they got guns, right? And I'm like, you do what you best. I can't see them. Your call. You're the flight lead.
It's up to you at the point.
I can't see them. I can't make it. I can't see what you're seeing. But I may have told them on the way out that to watch the compound and follow these vehicles that come out after us. So, but yeah, that's why I sent the picture to you, because to me it's funny as hell.
That's hilarious.
Like,
well, what are you gonna do? Like you said, I mean, you're just gonna get in a firefight in that small compound. I mean, you'd be Swiss cheese. Everybody would be tore up.
Yeah, every people would have died. So I'm like, we're all like kind of collecting all this. Like, you know what? Group photo. We did it so we can get their faces.
Sure.
Because they're like, I don't know, that 10 or so in that picture.
Yeah.
So we just took pictures for intel to get pictures of their faces.
Hell, for all you knew, you could have taken their picture, and they could have been like, hey, these guys are all right, and maybe, because you know how it is. 1 minute they're Taliban, next minute they are militia, next minute they're somebody else. I mean, it depends on the money and the situation.
Yep.
I mean, they all change sides so often that.
Well, yeah, that was that, man. That was again, to me it was funny. I didn't really have any major things going on. It was just routine stuff. To me, it was just hell. When we left, they want us to write up our own medals, and I put on my meritorious, whatever you want to call it, some medal we're trying to be put in for, maybe a bronze star. I don't know. It was fun, and I just wrote down mine. I came here and did my job. Like, there was nothing to me that I did that warranted like a bronze star with a V device. It was like,
right.
I didn't do anything really. I just did my damn job.
Yeah.
I was we were back at Bagram, I believe, and there's people walking around there who never left Bagram, and they're being awarded all kinds of medals and bronze stars and all this stuff, V devices, and it's like they didn't do anything. They ran during a rocket attack.
Right.
It
seems really weird.
Yeah.
Like for guys like us, like you said, you do your job. You're not seeking any recognition for it. You're not trying to. You don't do it for that reason. I mean, you're doing it because that's what you're supposed to be doing. That's our job. And then, but it just seems weird that a person would want to kind of fabricate, maybe elaborate, just to get that medal. Like for what end? Like at the end of your life, when you're looking back and you have all that and you have those things, what difference does it make? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems odd that a person would, lie or embellish to get something like that.
I'd rather have my integrity.
Yeah, for sure.
And my pride over a medal. I had a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some bad times, obviously, with Fraser and all that, but in general, it was okay.
Yeah.
I said, when I got back, and I ended up retiring not too long after that, and here I am today, 15 years later, however long it's been. 16, I don't know. I retired. Yeah, I got at least 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
So, but been a good time. I said, I'm just now trying to decide what we're going to do, because, my job ending is a kind of a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's from the mountains. She grew up, spent a lot of her time growing up out there, because she's native, and because she had a lot of family out there. And so she wants to move back there, and so I'm kind of torn right now. Like, do I get a job here or just go do something else? She's a nurse. She can get a job out there. We actually found a piece of property, real nice. I'm not gonna tell y'all where it's at because it's beautiful, and I want you to steal it. It's like 36 acres on top of a mountain. Beautiful log cabin on it.
Nice.
Natural springs coming out of the ground. It's beautiful.
Oh man.
So I'm like, do we sell this place and buy that place? Like, I don't know. So that's where I'm at right now. So like this is the job ending is kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
So,
But those are all good options to have. It's these really first world problems you got going on there, so that's not too bad.
yeah, it's like, oh, it could be. It's just life's so tough.
Right. Yeah. So let's that was all. First of all, thanks a lot. This was awesome. This is really cool. When guys send these things over on paper, you read it and you're like, that's super cool, but it's so much better, hearing it from you. So thanks a lot for coming in and sharing. I appreciate it. Now let's real quick before we go, let's rehash how guys can help out. Say the names of the companies again, and then if you got any other information to help out with the situation in North Carolina.
The one big organization that I'm trying to support is Savage Freedoms. It's got Savage Freedoms Relief Operations.
Okay.
I'll get you the information for that, where they can link into it. But if you just punch in Savage Freedoms, they're based out of the Holly Shop in Swannanoa.
Okay.
It's a huge organization now. Like, they started this thing 5 weeks ago, and it's gone from one guy to any given day 200-300 people there working there. It's huge.
Nice.
That's Savage Freedoms, and they have a link that you can donate either items to or money.
Okay.
The wife and I got it's the GoFundMe Save Bent Creek hashtag or dollar sign. I forget what it is. Hashtag, I think, Save Bent Creek.
Okay.
I'll send that to you as well.
Yeah.
That's just strictly for monetary donations, but because we're trying to get these guys a side-by-side and other supplies so they can survive the wintertime. Building supplies. Money to buy building supplies. Right now, like in my garage right now, a very anonymous person donated an entire house worth of appliances: washer, dryer, stove, microwave, fridge, dishwasher.
Wow.
And they're not brand new. They're about a year old, barely used. It was a rental property, and this guy took them out.
Wow.
And they said, "Here you go."
That's awesome.
Things like that. We got drywall donated, wood donated. Building supplies is the biggest need right now. Building supplies and skills like electricians, general contractors, guys who we're desperately in need of a general contractor because they're hard to get out there.
Sure.
But to go to these areas and assess these houses that are still standing, like what needs to be done to this house to make it whole again.
Okay.
Because it seems sometimes like not a wasted effort, but I'm concentrating on getting what I think is needed. And it turns out, well, before you even do that, you have to have all the other stuff done.
Right.
Things like that. Shovel teams. They have shovel teams running around just digging out people's houses, like all the mud out of it. The one house in particular, for our fun site, the house is still standing. It was made out of locust wood, I think. So the frame's there, the outside's still there, but the water came through and took everything out. One of the walls, I think, and just washed the entire house out. So they have to strip that house down to the wood again and rebuild it.
Wow.
So we're trying to help them with that.
Okay.
They're the ones that do side by side for the elders. Right now, they have about 10 or 15 people all kind of hanging around this house, in this house, trying to stay warm. But there's black mold. There's all those things going on that now. Before it was a little warmer out, they spent the day outside.
Sure.
Now it's cold, so now they're all trying to go back inside and stay warm. Now there's black mold. So people with skills that can build skill sets, heavy equipment operators, electricians, plumbers, general contractors, drywall hangers, all that stuff is needed out there, and not just in one spot. It's like across a third of the state.
Okay.
So money helps because you can pay people, or you can buy material and donations and time. If you got nothing to do with time, go out there and link up, and you can shovel. You can shovel mud for all day if you want. You go search through rocks, look for things,
right.
Remains and stuff. But that's the best way we can help them out.
Okay.
All
right. Well, good luck to you out there, man. I really hope that works out, and I hope this helps out and getting people out there to help out. I mean, it's I can't imagine what those people are going through. I mean, it's got to be devastating.
Yeah, but I appreciate you having me on. It's kind of a a nice little relaxing break to reminisce about some things, because
Yeah.
it's so heavily concentrated on helping people out there. But I do appreciate you letting me be on here and talk about it. It's really important. Thank you.
Like I said, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. This is great. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you, man.